We have your weekend Apple news. Welcome back to the holiday weekend. Happy 4th of July weekend. So we're back, and what do we do on the weekends? We're going to go through the Apple news. So I got about 20 or 25 different Apple-related news stories. I got some sales mixed in. It's going to be a little bit shorter this week because it's the holidays for sure. I'm drinking my favorite beer here, the Hofbräu Original here from Germany, Munich, one of my favorites. So sit back and relax on this holiday weekend. You like my hat too? Happy 4th. Let's get into the Apple news. Okay, for story number one, let's talk about the M5 chip. We know that there's some new products coming out later this year with the new M5 chip, and there's going to be 5 of them. Take a look right here, Mac Rumors. It says M5 chip rumored to debut in these 5 Apple products later this year. They got some pictures in here. We're going to scroll down. So number one is going to be the iPad Pro. This is going to be coming after being updated with the OLED display in a much thinner design last year. The iPad Pro will receive relatively smaller upgrades this year. So we know that it's going to have basically be the same, but we're going to get the M5 chip. Let me just see down here. It looks like this is the guy here, Apple supply chain analyst. I'm going to call this guy Ming for now on because people are calling me out for saying his name wrong. I could care less, right? I don't care how his name's said. I say it the way I want to say it. I'm going to call him Ming. And he basically said here with the M5 chip would enter mass production in the second half of 2025. So we're looking at a October through November timeframe for this one here. So the iPad Pro is number one. Here's the other one that surprised me, the Vision Pro. It says right here, in recent posts outlining the futures, head-mounted devices, the Vision Pro will be updated this year with the M5 chip, or later this year with the M5 chip. You can see it right here. That kind of surprised me because at the end of the day, we're expecting a cheaper version of this. We're maybe expecting some glasses. We'll talk about that later. But here's the Vision Pro getting updated with the M5. It's not selling that well now, and people that bought like the earlier version of it with the slower chip, they're not going to be upgrading for another $3,500, right? So this one's got me scratching my head, but it looks like this is coming out later this year. It says he does not expect the true, well, we'll get into this later. I don't want to talk about it right now, but you get the idea. This is supposedly getting updated this year. Then we're going to go back down to the MacBook Pro. This is an obvious one. Apple's expected to release the 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pro models with the M5 Pro and M5 Max chips in October of this year. So that could be a little bit earlier, I think. October, like I said, October, November, somewhere in that time frame. We know those are coming. Again, there's not going to be a big change this year. Next year is the big change with all the MacBook Pros. It's going to have possibly OLEDs, possibly a redesign, so you may want to wait. This is one of the products you may want to wait on because it's a tough call here. So MacBook Pros, though, coming out. The Mac Mini, it seems like we just started talking about this. Here we go. So the Mac Mini is going to be getting the M5 chip later this year. It looks like they might launch them all together in that, again, October through November, kind of time frame there. Now, I don't think there's going to be many changes here. The only thing I can anticipate for this one here, we're going to get the M5 chip. All the ports should be the same. They're going to get the different models. They could possibly go with 512 gigabyte SSD instead of 256. That could be maybe the only change for the base model. I don't know if Apple will do it. They should do it, but that's going to be one of the few changes. And then finally, the iMac's coming. And if you were worried like the iMac might only ship every other year or the Mac Mini every other year, we know now it's going to be coming every single year with these new chips. This is going to have the M5 chip as well. And the same thing here. I think it's going to have the same ports and design and everything like that. Possibly the only changes here are going to be the actual storage up to 512, and then maybe a couple different colors. And that's the only changes I anticipate. The colors are kind of random, but I think they could possibly do them this year because I need to do a little bit of change on this. It's been kind of long in the tooth here. It's been a long time since they've updated it, obviously. So let's just see if we get some new colors, and let's keep moving. Okay, story number 2 is going to be these updated Macs we're talking about. We just said that the MacBook Pros are going to be coming out. Obviously, what about the MacBook Airs as well? So let's just take a step back. Over here for Mac Rumors, it says Apple's upcoming Macs listed in new report. This is from an Apple insider, Marco, his name here. Today shared a list of alleged identifiers for future Mac models. So these identifiers usually mean that these are kind of incoming Macs. And the exciting thing here is we just talked about this, and I'll get into that in a second, but let's just go down to these identifiers. So down here are all the identifier numbers. You can see in here, they already have a lot of them identified. Mac Mini, M5, iMac M5, we talked about that. Here's all the MacBook Pros with the M5 all the way up to the M5 Max and M5 Pro chips. We got 2 Mac Studios in here. These are going to be probably the M5 chip as well. That's going to be exciting. We got the Airs coming in here as well. And then look at down here. They even have identifiers now for the 14-inch MacBook Pro with the M6, M6 Pro, M6 Max. So these are actually in there as well. But all the way down here, this gives you kind of an idea of like when these are going to actually come out. We see the Mac Pros actually have an identifier as well. But this is the kicker down here, is that actually another person's identifying that this one right here, the MacBook A18 Pro. I just did a video. Check it out. My last video right here. I'll put it up there. You can take a look at that. I did a video on what this could possibly be. This is going to be a dumbed down version of the Air, really, but it's still going to be powerful enough for most people out there. I'd say 80% of people. I still personally think that this is going to have more RAM than you think. It's going to have actually, a lot of people are saying it might just only come with 8 gigs. I don't think that's possible in this day and age with all the Apple intelligence going on. Okay, and one last thing kind of to prove to everyone, even though it's still a rumor, why this cheap version of the MacBook is probably coming out next year is right over here. This is from 9to5Mac. It says, new MacBook rumor sounds like Apple's taking the iPad approach. So I read through this article, and it makes a lot of sense. Rumored MacBook will be cheaper, use iPhone chip. We've talked about this considerably. So it's saying the $699 to $799 range. I think it's got to be $699, $599 on sale. So we kind of scroll down here, but take a look at this. This is kind of wanted to show you this picture here, and then also here. So they're actually, depending on your budget and needs, Apple kind of introduced the iPad at $349. You can get this for $299. The Mini for $499. You can get this for $399 on sale. The iPad Air right now is $599, and the iPad Pro $99. You can see the big separation here. On the Mac lineup, actually, we just have right now the Air and then the MacBook Pros, right? And it doesn't have, this has actually 4 separation points, and we only have 2 really there. Now, obviously, we have a Mac Mini, we have an iMac. Those are both desktops, obviously. They're different computers. But with the actual laptops, we don't have that much separation. We have one or the other. I think by adding a third one, they're not going to kind of saturate the market here. I think it's going to reach out to the people that would buy the iPad normally, the people that want to keep price down. They want about 80% of the features. They're totally happy with it. They don't need the best and greatest. I think it's a genius move, especially going after Chromebooks and stuff. I just think a lot of people that do not want to spend anywhere around $800 or $900 with $599 is so tempting. I think people are going to jump in with 2 feet. You guys tell me again in the comments, but let's keep moving. Cheers, everyone, and again, happy 4th of July. Although you're probably watching this well after it. Okay, I'm going to give you a couple Apple sales right now, just 2 of them. And we're going to go back to some more stories, but I want to then show you some of the best of Apple sales and then some of the worst that can come out. This is kind of funny. So here we go. This is Micro Center. Here's the M4 Mac Mini right here. They're actually having a Micro Center right now on sale for $449. This is a low price alert, the lowest I've ever seen it. There's no student discount here, nothing like that. $449 right now, brand new Micro Center. That's one of the better deals that's out there, right? Also, Amazon right now. Mac Mini again, so you can see it in here. This is the M4 Pro chip, the one I actually own. It's down to $1262. I think this is a low price alert on Amazon. 10% off only, but it's usually $13.99 now, $12.62. This is actually a really good deal. If you're going to be a video editor, like I always mention, you get 24 gigs of RAM, 512 gigabyte SSD. Is it the best, value out there? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe it's somewhere in between. The first one I just showed you was the best value. This one's kind of in the middle. And then things that Apple, like this is the thing that people look at and it just shocks you. This is not on sale, mind you, but this is the worst case scenario. So we just remember, we had the M4 for $499 for the Mac Mini. Take a look at this. Here's the Apple Mac Mini with M4 Pro chip. This is kind of the same as the middle one I just showed you for $1,200. $4,699. So this is about the most expensive one I think you can configure in here. But I just wanted to show you how ridiculous it is true. Like some of the products that Apple sells is completely ridiculous. I mean, take a look at this. $4,000 for the same computer you can get for $499. Obviously, it's a little bit different chip. And what do you get in here? So you get 64 gigs of RAM versus obviously 16. Big difference, but not that big of a difference, right? And then you get up to 8 terabytes. But still, that 8 terabytes is going to cost you, I mean, I think it's like $2,400 additional. It's just crazy. So I just want to show people the perspective of the good of Apple and then the bad of Apple. And this is kind of the bad Apple that went really bad, right? Some people might need it, but if you're going to buy this, then you should be looking at the Studio, the Mac Studio, and things like that. You shouldn't be buying this one. This one I don't agree with, but the other 2 are great deals. Okay, we all know that you don't really buy a Mac to game on, but at least they're moving in the right direction here. Right over here from 9to5Mac, it says Mac users will get 9 big new games soon. Here's the full list. So it says the Mac is growing as a platform of AAA big budget games. I don't know if that's true, but it is growing thanks to the advancements of Apple's M-series chips. We can see the picture here. Let's scroll down to see what's coming here. So these are the ones that they're claiming are going to be the good ones coming, and at least we're getting something. That's positive news. Crimson Desert, Then we got this Zoai. I have no idea how to even say that, so I've never heard of that game before, obviously. Cyberpunk 2077, Chronos, The New Dawn, Architect, Land of Exiles, Lies of P Overture, Hitman, World of Assassination, E-Frontier, and Where Winds Meet. So you can see them all here. So again, you don't buy a Mac to game on, but at least, if Mac can figure out the gaming niche here and they can start getting some of the bigger games, even though some of these are older games getting ported over, but if they can figure it out in the cost of like the Mac Mini and stuff, they're just going to dominate the market, right? So let's keep our fingers crossed. At least we're moving in the right direction. Okay, so all the different smart devices on your head, like I had mentioned before, the goggles and the glasses, we kind of have more of a roadmap now. Right over here, 9 to 5 Mac. Here's my favorite Ming guy. So it says Apple working on seven head-mounted products. Roadmap starts in 2025. 7 different things supposedly they're working on. So what could this possibly be? Let's kind of scroll down here. So let's just get in here. So here are some of the first things. Apple Vision Pro spec bump in 2025, Vision Air in 2027, second gen Vision Pro in 2028. So we just talked about this one here, the Apple Vision Air. This is a new one. Supposedly, what's it saying in 2027? As far as the rumored Vision Air, he basically says that it's a cheaper sibling, and he says it'll weigh 40% less than the original version. We just don't know how cheap yet. Finally, it'll feature the highest end iPhone processor. So that's interesting to me. It won't be like an M processor, but the highest phone. So we'll see if that works well. And then the second gen Vision Pro here, he says that he's claiming that this is going to come out in 2028. So Vision Pro will feature a new design and Mac class processor. So he's thinking like the M5 chip will come out later this year, but the new redesigned Vision Pro will be 2028. Even before that, though, we're going to get an Apple Vision Air, which is going to be a cheaper version with a phone chip. I don't know if that's true. What do you think? And then as far as glasses, it says right here, no earlier than 2027, 2 XR glasses underway. Display accessory on pause. So the first gen Apple glasses, he says, contrary to the recent reports, pegged 2026 is the possible debut. This guy's saying that, basically he's saying it's the second quarter of 2027, and he wants to sell an estimated 3 to 5 million units. But can you imagine this? So this is going to be, first of all, the first generation Apple glasses in 2027, not even next year. So it's going to give Meta, it's going to give all these other companies all this extra headroom to get ahead of them by that much, and they're only going to come out with the standard ones. So it's kind of crazy. He's saying it's going to come with multiple frames and materials and options, which will be nice, but still, it's going to have voice control, gesture recognition, photo and video recording. We get all that, but still, 2027, I think that'll be a miss. Then he's saying 2 XR smart glasses underway right now, according to the report. Apple's first pair of glasses with a built-in display is expected to enter mass production in 2028. So we're not going to get XR into 2028. He's saying that it also notes that Apple's developing a second display-equipped model, though the details. So there's going to be 2 different models of these XR glasses. We'll see what's going on here. It's just interesting to note that these are all possibilities, but none of them seem like they're coming out anytime soon, which is kind of crazy. Okay, next week we got all of the Amazon Prime Day sales. There's going to be a ton on this channel. I'm going to do 2 videos on that, 50 or 60 products a piece. Subscribe if you want to see that. Right now we don't have a ton of good sales from Apple. Here's one that's crept back down to $399. It's the Apple iPad Mini, standard version, 20% off from Apple, nothing to sneeze at, usually $499. So if you want to pick this up, it's not going to go any lower on Prime Day sales. I'm pretty positive about that. So now's the time to get that. In fact, sometimes they actually go up in cost when the Prime Day sales come out for some reason. So if you want that, definitely consider it. Okay, so the M4 Mac Mini, we've talked about this many times of upgrading the SSDs in there on the channel because it's helped, I talk about my M4 Mac Mini all the time. But if you want a good video, I found one that's actually really good. It shows you all the steps of doing it, even updating the software later. Right over here, this is actually how to upgrade the M4 Mac Mini SSD to save hundreds. So you can search for that title. And this is from 9 to 5 Mac. But this person in here, they go through all the things on how to take off the case. Let me just kind of skip ahead here. All the different screws you have to take off. This is all obviously pretty standard stuff. But then at the end of it, they'll actually show you how to boot it back up and load all the software back in here. Of course, we get an ad while I'm talking about it. You get the idea. It's 9 to 5 Mac, how to upgrade the M4 Mac Mini SSD and save hundreds. That's the name of the video. Search for it if you're looking to do this on your Mac Mini, and you should be golden. So definitely that's one of the best resources I've seen. So maybe you're trying to justify buying a new Mac coming up. Maybe the M5 is going to be right for you. Why do people actually change their Macs? Why do they actually do it? Is it because it's getting old or is it for other reasons? I thought this was interesting. 9 to 5 Mac. The 8 reasons people upgrade Mac or PC as shipments surge. You can see it in here. So we're going to scroll down here. These are they kind of did some analysis here by these two companies down here. I'm going to give them kind of credit down here. You can see here as well. But it's saying right here, so attractive upgrade offer. Usually about, what is that? About 8% of people do it because they see a good offer, right? Better specs. This is what got me. This is only going to be like, what is this? 16 or 17% of people because of better specs. You would think that would be the primary reason, right? Then it says right here, I wanted to have the latest and greatest. It's almost as much. So there's a lot of people that like the latest and greatest, and I guess they like to waste their money if they don't need it, but that's what they want. So you can see it's very, very close here. Gifts. Gifts are up there too. Gifts are actually equal with better specs. I thought that was interesting as well. Broken beyond repair. Again, I thought this would be very high. This is going to be the same in line with all these other ones. Broken, didn't want to repair. So there you go. And I guess these, well, actually, if you put these on top of each other, I guess this would be 30% or so. So that does make sense. Too slow or outdated. I guess that is the top one, right? So I guess better specs in this one over here. But I think this should be the number one, and that makes sense there as well. Employer refresh and then employer upgrade. I just thought it was interesting. So if you want to justify buying a Mac, in the future, or buying a new computer, there you go. You guys can kind of see what other people think in here and how they actually make their decisions. I kind of I find it funny. Like, I wanted to have the latest and greatest. It's still like, 15, 16% of people. I guess there are people like that. Not me. I want the cheapest, but I guess still good enough. Okay, for this next story, we've all been harping on Apple Intelligence and why are they behind? Why are they behind? But this story here will make you feel better about the way the approach they're taking and making sure it's done correctly right here. So first of all, we're going to talk about this one, Apple Insider. Meta wants to upload every photo you have to its cloud to give you AI suggestions. So on the surface, that doesn't seem too bad, right? But we're going to scroll down. It says Meta's latest feature gives Facebook the power to continuously upload your private photos to its cloud, even the ones you never intended to share. Here's how to stop it. So basically, Meta has decided to take it several steps further, basically. It wants to give you Facebook access to your entire camera roll and allow you to upload your photos to its cloud. The feature spotted on TechCrunch has recently begun rolling out to users. When creating a story, a prompt pops up and asks the users to opt into cloud processing. While it sounds, while it sounds like pretty innocent, right? It becomes less once you read what Meta means by that. In its words, it says, to create ideas for you, we'll select media from your camera roll and upload it to our cloud on an ongoing basis based on the info like the time, location, and themes. Then it goes on to say, while it claims that the images won't be used for ad targeting, it still doesn't make us feel particularly good, even so more when you delve into the Meta AI terms of service, all right? If you opt into this feature, just remember that you're giving Meta full access to all of your images in your camera roll, even the ones you definitely don't want anyone else to see. And then you're basically just giving it access if you do this. This is the crazy thing. So people are actually doing this. And then it goes down to here. It says, considering Meta's history of protecting data, we strongly suggest opting out of the cloud computing. So they kind of name it something that you don't even know what it is. After all, it was less than a year ago we found that Meta had been storing over 500 million user passwords in plain text. They weren't password protecting them. That was less than a year ago. Here they are saying it's going to be, put us into the cloud computing, but they're really stealing your photos and using them to train their AI. And you don't know how they're going to get used. And if they breach it, if anyone breaches into there, they have access to all your photos. So this is a bad thing, right? So how is Apple doing this differently? So right here from Apple Insider, Apple researchers work to stop AI from taking actions you didn't approve. So on the exact flip side, Apple says AI agents are learning to tap through your iPhone on your behalf, but Apple researchers want them to know when to pause. You can read it right there. A recent paper from Apple at the University of Washington explored basically this disparity. Their research focused on training AI to understand the consequences of its actions on a smartphone. So long story short, Apple's actually, it says they're taking a long time because they figure like AI can end up, deciding if you should click to delete a subscription or if you should click to, to buy something on your phone. And Apple says it wants it to fully understand the consequences of its actions versus just letting it do what it wants. So they're actually taking the time to go over this approach when companies like Meta are really into just send us all of your photos and we're going to train all of our models. Who knows where that stuff's going to go. Okay, so if you're looking for external storage on your Mac, or it could be Windows PC, we're almost in that 1 terabyte with really fast storage for around $100. We're almost there. Here we go. This is Amazon. So we got this one right here, Kingston NV3 1 terabyte drive. This is going to be an NVMe M.2 drive, PCIe. $58.49. That's a really good cost. It's right now on sale for 27% off, usually $80. So that's a good cost. They're up to 6,000 megabytes per second. So if you pair that right now, that's $58. This is close, $56. So this is actually down, but this is the Acasis 40 gigabit per second M.2 enclosure. So you put that disk in here. This is $56. That's $58. So we're still, what is that, like 14 or $15 over the $100 cost. I'm waiting for the time when we can get a 1 terabyte drive and a 40 gigabit per second enclosure for $100 or less. And it's slowly getting there. Not before, these enclosures by themselves were over $100. Now these are down to $56, lowest price in 30 days here. So I think we're getting in the right realm here. And you're going to get storage around 2,800 to 3,000 megabytes per second with this. So it's going to be plenty fast for most people. Okay, if you're thinking about the iPhone 16 Pro Max versus the 17 Pro Max, wait a second, because this may give you a little bit more information and why you may want to wait. Mac Rumors says iPhone 17 Pro Max battery capacity is leaked right here. You can see it here. The iPhone 17 Pro Max will feature the biggest ever battery in the iPhone lineup, according to this Webio leaker. So let's just kind of go down here. We can kind of see how these things have increased since the iPhone 11. Here's the 16 Pro Max right here. As far as the milliamp size, it's 4,676. It's going to go way up to 5,000 milliamps here. So we can see it's not it's a pretty big jump, I guess. It's actually bigger than the 15 to 16. So we can see it in here right here. So let's just kind of go down to what does this actually equate to? How long is this going to give you more, I guess, how much more on-screen time right over here? It's saying the iPhone 17 Pro Max could be on course to offer around 35 hours of battery life. So we can take a look at that. And then here's the iPhone 16 Pro Max 33. So we're going from 33 hours up to 35 hours. Of course, you're not going to get those, that's like perfect conditions, but that's an additional 2 hours. So if you cut that in half because it's not perfect conditions, we're going to say about another hour. So, not that's huge, but at the end of the day, when you need that extra hour, the 17 is going to have you covered. We have good news for Mac shipments. They're growing, or are they? Right over here, Mac Rumors. It says Apple's Mac shipments are soaring, and here's why. Apple recorded the highest year-over-year growth among major computer vendors in the United States during the first quarter of 2025, with Mac shipments increasing 28.7% and market share rising from 14.2 to 16%. So that's actually going to be pretty big right there, right? Obviously, it looks like it's growing quite a bit. So if you look down, without getting in here, let's just kind of figure out, what's kind of behind this increase? Is it really a true increase? Right over here. It says the first quarter surge in computer shipments is primarily attributed to the vendor efforts of front-load inventory ahead of the anticipated U.S. tariff challenges or changes. So obviously what Apple did, they were really good at it. They gave a lot of sales out, they moved a lot of computers into the United States, and they sold a lot of computers. People feared the tariffs. That's really what it comes down to. That's why it went up so much, all right? So it says right here, it says this company, Canalys, it says projects total U.S. PC shipments to grow by only 2% for the full year of 2025. So while the beginning of the year was really good, is what they're saying, at the end of the year, it's going to really slow down, I think, because of the fact that everyone kind of pre-bought fearing the tariffs, and then the tariffs really didn't affect the computers that much. Now, they did affect other things, like monitors are kind of off the charts, but computers haven't really got affected, which is really weird. At least Apple computers, to tell you the truth, they've actually, some of the prices even gone down. So long story short, while we see Apple grow so big, it's not so much because they really outsold everything in the beginning of the year. It's because people feared those tariffs and they just bought everything. And now everyone's kind of bought. The M5s are going to spur some more interest, though, obviously. So we'll have to see how this ends up. Okay, last month in June, what were the top movies and then top TV shows watched on Apple TV? It's kind of good to know because then you can actually look these up and then maybe watch something new, right? So I'm going to go through them really quickly. Right over here from 9 to 5 Mac, these were the most watched Apple TV movies and shows in June. I'm just going to scroll through them really quick just so we can get through them. Number 1, Echo Valley. These are the movies. So Echo Valley, Fountain of Youth is number 2. The Gorge is number 3. The Family Plan, number 4. Killers of the Flower Moon, 5. Palmer, 6. Fly Me to the Moon, 7. Wolves, 8. Napoleon is 9. And then finally, the greatest beer run ever. And I guess that sounds like a comedy or something, but it's actually something about Vietnam. So I haven't seen many of these, I'll tell you the truth. And then here's the TV shows. So if you're looking for maybe a new TV series to watch, let's start over here. Murderbot, number 1. Sounds interesting. Sounds a little bit depressing. Number 2, Stick. It looks like it's about golfing, right? Let's go down here. Number 3, Your Friends and Neighbors. Number 4, The Studio. I thought that would be a big one. I thought it would be number 1. Severance, number 5. Looks like that's kind of slowly shrinking or moving down the scale. What do we got? Smoke, number 6. Silo, number 7. The Buccaneers, number 8. Slow Horses. This one's been big for a long time. Number 9. And then Ted Lasso rounds out the top 10. Again, obviously it depends on when the new series come out and if there's new content for people to watch, but still kind of interesting. Okay, if you're a gamer and you like, cheap games and stuff, there's some sales going on right now for the summer. Right over here from Apple Insider. Again, these are Mac games. So it says 10 best Mac games to buy during the Steam summer sale. So if you have Steam again and you have a Mac, check some of these out. First one's down here. Oxygen, not included right here. You can see it in here. What does it say? It says from Steam, it's now $7.49 right now. Let's keep going. Dyson Fold, it looks like it's kind of a card and dice game here. 55% off. It's now down to $5.84. Let's keep going. Cyberpunk 2077, that's more of a big game here. It drops 65%. Now it's down to $20.99. That's a pretty big deal there. What else do we have here? What is this? Broforce. Kind of a weird looking game here. 80% off, down to $2.99. Let's keep moving down here. Civilization here, Sid Meier's Civilization, one of the more recent versions of it. This is actually more of an expensive game. Let me just see here, 15% off for both of them. So now it's down to $59 for one and $84. How much was this thing before? Crazy. But anyways, that is down as well. So if you like that game, Baldur's Gate, obviously, currently on sale for, is this 2? This is Baldur's Gate 3, I'm sorry. So it's down to $47.99. That's 20% off, actually. So that was actually pretty expensive, too. What else do we got? City Skylines here. This is down to $8.99. Not a bad price there. What else do we got here? Firewatch. This is actually kind of a cool game. I've actually seen this before. Firewatch it's on, let me just get down here, on sale for $3.99. It's usually $19.99 here. So it's a Wyoming wilderness players. Basically, they have the role of this guy named Henry, a man who's left his previous life to work behind as a fire lookout person. So if you like these kind of games, this is an interesting game. It's $20 down to $3.99 there. What else do we have here? Lies of P, actually. That's a big game here. That's down to $29, 50% off right now. That's actually really great. And then Dave the Diver here. Let's just see this. This is down to $11.99. Okay, so that's what you can get on sale right now. Check it out. Hope you like my 4th of July hat too. Here we go. So for people that are purists, this may not be too attractive to you. I think it's kind of ugly actually myself. I don't really care that much though. Apple Insider says redesigned iPhone 17 Pro camera may lead to Apple to reposition its Apple logo. So here's the Apple logo that they were thinking it's going to be. This guy's claiming, and the rumor is actually pretty high, that the logo has to move down. I guess it's because of the way you charge it, like with the actual, MagSafe and stuff. Long story short, they're thinking it's going to be moved down to here. So, if I look at it just by itself, it just kind of looks weird way down here. I do think it looks better up here, don't you? So I'm not sure what they're saying here. They're saying because of the vapor chamber and a whole bunch of other stuff. I don't know who to believe anymore. But take a look at this. Tell me you guys, would you guys like it up here or down here? I just think this is almost too low because it's not really halfway. Look at this. This size over here is shorter than this size up here. So it's not in the middle, which is kind of weird for Apple. Okay, this next sale here is going to be for someone that does not need the newest and greatest, but still wants a powerful machine. Right over here from Amazon right now, we have the Apple iPad Air 11-inch. Not the M3 chip, but the M2 chip. So it's one generation behind, but you do get a whopping 512 gigabyte of storage on there, and you get the cell service, the 5G cellular. So you can see that there and everything else for $749. So right now that's usually $1,049. I'm so used to Apple prices. $1,049. It's down to $749. So this is $300 off, 29% off right now. I think that's a pretty good deal. This next article is super interesting to me because I've worked in a data center for 26 years. But I thought this would be kind of cool right over here. Mac Rumors. It says iCloud versus AWS. Apple has considered competing with the Amazon in the cloud. So Apple in recent years has considered competing with Amazon Web Services, AWS, according to the Information's Aaron Tilley. So, long story short, I'm not going to get too much into it, but AWS, the Amazon kind of, the cloud service that they offer, Amazon was thinking that they would actually, with their M series chips, offer a really good, compelling, product that's going to be very powerful, very power efficient. So they were going to maybe make like the Apple cloud. That's going to be obviously not the cloud we're talking about, like, Apple Intelligence, but where you can actually rent servers, by the hour or by the day or by the month, just like AWS. Kind of a cool, sir. What do you guys, I guess, post in the comments? I mean, you'd have to obviously, there's so many advantages to doing this if you think about it, right? Maybe security, things like that, as far as, just having like a Windows server. So there's a lot of good things going here. And I think it would help Apple with revenue as well. But then they get into a whole nother realm that they're not really, used to, kind of like Apple Intelligence. So you guys tell me, would you want to see this happen? Or is it something you think they should shy away from? Okay, so for Apple, they're getting pulled in a lot of different directions. We know that they're moving a lot of people over to India, or a lot of their manufacturing to India because of the tariffs with China, and also because realistically, if China does something to Taiwan or something, the whole thing could blow up in their face. So they actually want to go ahead and move some of the stuff over to India. So what's China doing in response? Right over here, Mac Rumors. It says, reports Apple's India manufacturing dream in jeopardy after exodus of Chinese workers. Apple's effort to expand iPhone production in India has encountered a setback as Foxconn has recalled hundreds of Chinese engineers and technicians from its Indian factories. So I basically go on, it goes on to say it's pretty obvious. They did like 300 or 400 of the top scientists or top engineers. They're moving them back. And it's saying that they're giving other reasons for China. But realistically, what they're claiming, all the analysts are saying, it's really because China wants to kind of say, hey, we want to make sure you understand, we're part of this market as well, and we want stuff produced in China. So now they're thinking, like, instead of moving, Apple's trying to get around this by moving places, to other areas and stuff like that. So Foxconn's moving out there with them. Apple's starting to take those people back now, and they're moving them back into China so that now Apple's going to have a problem. So we'll see how this kind of unfolds here. But this all goes back to the sense that even if you love or hate the government now or whatever, having things in America, if it's possible, is always a good idea, right? This is a good case of this because things can happen in an instant with war and with a whole bunch of other things. We'll have to see how this unfolds here, but hopefully, India will continue to grow there, or they'll get their own engineers slowly learning everything, and this won't be an issue. Okay, we got a feel-good story, and then I want to know people's comments here. Do you agree with what I'm thinking here? Right over here, Mac Rumors. It says, iPhone satellite functionality saves Denver mountaineer. So Apple's satellite texting feature saved an injured climber over the weekend, according to a Colorado news report. The man was stuck above 10,000 feet. Long story short, he was on a mountain called Snowmass Mountain, which is very snowy. Pretty funny there, right? It can be dangerous to hike, up at that height because of the snow. Even like the altitude with kind of the sickness you can get with that and all that kind of stuff combined. So he was doing something dangerous. All right, so it says down here, on the trip, the unmanned 53-year-old summited the mountain and was using a technique called glissading to slide down the mountain. Sliding down a snow-covered mountain can result in injury, and the man suffered damage to his wrist, all right? So long story short, he used the cell service because he couldn't get, not cell, but the satellite service because he couldn't get cell service, and they came here. And it says right here, he was located on Snowmass Lake, which was approximately 8 miles from the mountain's parking area. Responders said the man was not able to walk out on his own, and it took 17 rescuers to get him to safety. So the good news is they saved this person. Good news, Apple. The thing I'm thinking, though, in the end of the day is they're saying that this is a dangerous thing. The guy's out by himself. He just gliding down the mountain. It's very dangerous. And then it takes 17 rescuers, helicopters, everything to get this guy out there. You can easily solve this, right? Now, while it saved him, that guy should have to pay for all that. Do you agree with me? If he had to pay for all the rescue work, the helicopters, the fuel, the 17 salaries, those people are risking their lives to save that guy because he's doing something super dangerous. They should be able to basically, at the end of the day, have to pay it back, right? Now, if you have an Apple Watch, there's a quick feature coming out that you might want to know about right here from 9 to 5 Mac. WatchOS 26 will alert you if your Apple Watch battery starts draining faster than normal. So it's going to have a little message saying, you've used more battery than usual for this time of day. Extend your battery by doing something. So it's going to use some kind of an AI algorithm, and it's going to tell you depending on your usage, and it's going to kind of keep track of how you use your watch, and then it's going to come back and say, for some reason today you're using a lot more, give you some statistics on it, and just warn you of it. I think that's a good feature, right? Because then maybe you're not going to be out at like 9 o'clock at night and have the thing run out on you. You can actually set it in advance. Good feature, Apple. Okay, so if you don't want to spend a ton of money on Apple headphones, the over-the-ear headphones, we got another alternative, and they actually, a lot of people are saying they're really good, and they look kind of cool. Right here, this is going to be from Mac Rumors. Nothing launches transparent over-the-ear headphones. You can see the picture in here. In Mac Rumors here, they said it was as good as quality as Apple's. I mean, very, very close to that. And the cost, it's only $299. So look at this. It's a really cool design. Let me actually go over here to their actual website. It kind of looks, nothing phone and all those things. They always have this kind of weird design. It's the same thing on the headphones here. You can kind of see through them. And you can kind of see how they look here. I was kind of laughing at this ad. Look at this ad. This is kind of goes I don't know if you guys have recently seen the Jaguar ads. And Jaguar came out with these crazy ads, and then they sunk like 86%. This is kind of the same. These are kind of, I don't know. Look at these models they have here. I don't know what's going on with the world today, but they all look kind of crazy. Long story short, though, the headphones look cool. So there you go. This guy looks like he's mad at me for some reason. And but you can see the side of them over here. They're very thin, obviously. They just look kind of interesting. Mac Rumors was claiming that they actually are, just as good, or right around the quality of the sound from the Apple ones. $299. So you might want to check these out if you're looking for those things. I think they look pretty cool. Forget the models. Okay, cheers, and everyone have a great 4th of July again. And I had to do this video fairly quickly just because I'm trying to enjoy outside on the 4th of July. And so give me a little slack on this one. It was a little bit chaotic in here and there, but next week will be better. And remember, I'm doing some Prime videos coming up here shortly as well. We'll talk to you the next one. Peace.